First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Welcome to WFT News First at 5. I'm Amy Galo.
And I'm Isabella Leandri. Thanks for joining us. It's Cyber Monday, or is it just another Monday? With shoppers starting earlier than ever on their holiday shopping, is Cyber Monday still a thing? Just released data from Adobe Analytics shows online Black Friday sales in the U.S. hit a record-breaking $9.12 billion this year, fueling the idea that holiday shoppers are buying earlier than ever. CNN's Jen Sullivan has a look at why Cyber Monday could be losing its luster.
Despite higher prices and rising interest rates, online holiday shopping is seeing major growth, but there are signs of a slowdown.
The online piece has slowed a bit, and we'll see a resurgence in consumers back in stores this holiday season in ways we haven't seen for the 2 or 3 years.
The NRF estimates Americans will still spend in record numbers this season. But according to Adobe Analytics, customers in the first 3 weeks of this month spent $64.5 billion online. That's only a tiny 0.1% gain from last year, with their data also showing that discounts only get deeper in the run-up to Cyber Monday, with some experts saying as more people shop early, it could make Cyber Monday less relevant in the future.
Retailers have really responded by moving those deals and promotions up earlier to give people more time.
The National Retail Federation says their data shows shoppers started their holiday shopping as early as September, suggesting they're more budget conscious and are not waiting until Cyber Monday or beyond to find deals.
Particularly right now with inflation top of mind, consumers are looking to spread out some of that spending.
But other signs of an online shopping slowdown are also emerging, with Amazon forecasting fourth quarter sales below analysts' expectations. Meanwhile, the president of e-commerce website Shopify says he's very optimistic about sales on this platform this season.
We were already seeing numbers slightly up from last year.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
The weather is really warming up this week.
WUFT's Mariana Larsen joins us now with the weather forecast.
If you've been outside today, you probably know what nice weather we've been having. Take a look in Gainesville right now, it's 75 degrees, and all across north central Florida is in the mid 70s as well. So it's a very calm and nice day to be outside. Now tonight we are going to get a little cooler. We're going to see lows tonight in the 50s. So if you don't like the cold, maybe grab an extra blanket before heading to bed tonight. But with that colder temperatures, we are going to see some fog as well into the morning. Take a look with me right here. We see that fog developing across the Nature Coast, and some is going to pop up just west of Jacksonville as well. Around 8 a.m. is when it's going to be at its thickest. Back to you.
Breaking news, the Putnam County Sheriff just announced formal charges against a deputy who resigned when accused of a sexual relationship with the minor. At the time, 36-year-old Joshua Herron worked as a youth resource deputy. Today, he was charged with 4 counts of sexual battery. FDLE is investigating the death of an inmate at the Marion County Jail. He's identified as 46-year-old Scott Leslie Whitley III. The sheriff's office says Whitley refused to cooperate with the cell inspection Friday morning. After the use of a taser and pepper spray failed, in the end, a total of 6 deputies were involved in controlling him. The sheriff's office says Whitley stopped breathing, so deputies started CPR, but he was pronounced dead at the hospital.
With a dramatic rescue, the pilot of a small plane and his passenger are safe after their aircraft flew into power lines in Maryland. NBC's Tom Costello reports.
Yeah, good day. An incredibly high-stakes emergency rescue here in the suburbs outside of Washington, D.C. And right now, we're watching these crews that are up in cherry pickers securing this high-voltage utility tower and the power lines themselves. The plane itself is now gone, but the plane slammed into that tower at 5:30 p.m. on Sunday. And when that happened, lights throughout this entire county started to flicker, and 120,000 people lost power. And then the rescue, and you can imagine the high stakes here because those were highly charged power lines. These individuals, a pilot and his passenger, hanging inside and tangled up in the electrical wires. But the fire department could not effect a rescue because the lines were charged. So they had to bring in heavy equipment in addition to about 100 firefighters. And then they slowly began trying to make sure that the power was shut off and then effected the rescue. They did not get these individuals out of the plane until 12:30 in the morning. They were taken to a nearby hospital suffering from hypothermia and trauma from the actual impact, the plane hitting the electrical tower. This is a single-engine, small plane called a Mooney plane. Not uncommon to see it flying in and out of small community airports. And the question now is, how did this ever happen? The NTSB and the FAA will be clearly looking into that. Thankfully, these two individuals are alive and being treated at the local hospital. Back to you.
A few dozen homeless people who camp on land near Grace Marketplace are being told they must clear out by December 1st. The vacant land is registered to the state of Florida, but it's unclear whether the Department of Corrections or the Florida National Guard has oversight. The campers include people with a variety of backgrounds who have been affected by this year's housing crisis and cracks in the local shelter system. Last year's one-day count found 521 unhoused people in Alachua County. For a more detailed look at the puzzle pieces of what's being done to help, check out the full article posted at WUFT.org.
TikTok has over 1 billion active users and is marked as one of the most popular social media platforms of this year.
With entertainment content being one of the most watched, a Gainesville native has built a following of their own with their own skits and parodies. We'll have more on this later. And coming up on WUFT News First at 5, protesters in China are angered with China's leader. Stay with us to find out why.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Protesters angered by strict anti-COVID measures are calling for China's leader to resign. NBC's Janice Mackey-Freyer has more on this rare direct challenge to the ruling Communist Party.
Extraordinary scenes across China with protests in multiple cities against the government's zero COVID rules. People chanting for freedom from the policy that has controlled every aspect of daily life and holding up blank pieces of paper as a protest against censorship, with the internet here being scrubbed of any signs of discontent. In Shanghai, some protesters even openly dared to call for leader Xi Jinping to step down, which is unheard of in China. Now, this swell of anger was triggered by a deadly apartment fire in Xinjiang. Lockdown measures at the building there being blamed because emergency crews took 3 hours to put out the flames. Videos emerged on social media showing candlelight vigils for the fire victims, as well as these shows of frustration. People calling for an end to lockdowns, an end to testing. In Chengdu, they shouted unblock, while in Guangzhou, they actually did knock down barriers. China's government has tried tweaking its zero COVID rules, but with cases now at a record high, they're bearing down again with restrictions. Quelling the unrest remains a challenge for the Communist Party. They have a heavier police presence in several major cities tonight, but there is no clear exit from zero COVID in sight. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing.
Iran is calling for the U.S. national soccer team to be thrown out of the World Cup. U.S. social media posts tampered with an image of the Iranian flag in support of protests in Iran. The protest started with the death of a Kurdish woman by police who claimed she wore her headscarf incorrectly. Human rights groups say more than 300 people have been killed in the ongoing crackdown on protest. Iran claims the U.S. posts violate the FIFA charter and should trigger a 10-game suspension.
Mexican police have dismantled a migrant camp on their side of the border with the United States. Riot police cleared the camp set up by hundreds of migrants, mostly from Venezuela. Mexico says the large gathering posed an unacceptable risk of fires, drownings, and hypothermia. Evicted migrants said they didn't want to leave because they thought it would pressure the U.S. to allow them entry. The organizers of the Paris 2024 Olympics say the first draw for a total of 10 million tickets could start on December 1st. Anyone in the world can enter the computer draw, which ends on January 31st, 2023, and 3 million tickets and packages will effectively be available in February. Half of the tickets will cost about $52 or less, but you can expect travel and lodging costs to run high. The 2024 Paris Olympics will be held from July 26th through August 11th.
I would really love to see Team USA compete in the Olympics, but it's too bad it's so far away in Paris.
I know, and plus I'm sure the weather in Paris is beautiful in the summertime. Mariana, what's the weather looking like in Gainesville this week?
Well, we might see some rain in our area this week, but what day should we expect that? All that and more when we get back from the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Looking at our campus cam right now, you can see the beginning of a beautiful sunset for tonight, and that just displays what we've been seeing all day. Beautiful weather right now in Gainesville. It is 74 degrees, and all across north central Florida we are seeing the same thing, mid-70s all across the board. It's just been a beautiful day. Tonight we are going to see a cool down in our temperatures though. We're expecting to see lows in the 50s for tonight, so if that's too cold for you, maybe grab a blanket, maybe grab a long sleeve shirt to go to bed tonight, but it is going to be a little cooler. And with those cooler temperatures, we are going to see some patchy fog in our area starting tonight and going into tomorrow morning. Take a look with me at the future fog. It's mainly going to be around the Nature Coast, so Cross City, Cedar Key, Bronson, but we're also seeing it in areas such as Stark and Palatka as well. So make sure you are keeping an eye on that. It's not going to affect I-75 as much, but still keep an eye out and take caution anyways. Maybe leave a few minutes early for work tomorrow. Now going into our temperatures for tomorrow, let's take a look at the hour by hour. It's going to feel like it did today, maybe a little bit warmer, but still a very nice day. We're going to see some clouds, but overall it is going to be sunny. Take a look at the high temperatures with me. Gainesville is going to be at 79, and we're going to see some places that are a little cooler than that, but overall mainly the same thing. St. Augustine's going to be at 73. High Springs is going to be at 78. But tomorrow, Wednesday, we are expecting a slight change in the forecast. We're going to have a cold front coming in, and with that we are going to see the possibility of some rain, especially on Wednesday night. Take a look with me here. You can see some of that lighter rain grazing our area, and it's going to pass through, but by Thursday it should for the most part be cleared out. Expect to see some light rain. It won't be too heavy, not in the yellows or reds, but it's still something to keep an eye out for. Take a look at this 6-day forecast with me. Thursday, that cold front, we're really going to feel it. We're going to see highs in the 60s, but overall, for the most part, we're going to have temperatures in the upper 70s, lower 80s, and it's going to be, for the most part, sunny into the weekend. Back to you.
Thanks, Mariana. Now we turn to a UF student who represents the campus community on a national platform.
Here to tell us all about him is WUFT reporter Jacob Sedesse. Jacob, it seems like you had a great time speaking with this up-and-coming TikTok star.
Yes, Isabella, Amy, TikTok took the world by storm in 2020 and has continued to grow. With so many people making videos on the app, pretty soon someone in our area had to find their place on it. That person is Hunter Jones, a junior majoring in finance at the University of Florida. I paid a visit to his house with my reporting partner, Jamisha Carroll, where we learned more about how he becomes his online persona and the work it takes to manage such a large platform.
Yeah. I'll talk to you later, girl. Yeah. Excuse me, what are you doing here?
No, that's not a stalker filming someone on their front step. That's the roommate and personal cameraman of UF student Hunter Jones. But UF students will recognize him in his wig as fictional Alpha Delta Pi sorority president Brittany Diamond. His TikTok account @DrunkAtThePre boasts almost 200,000 followers and over 10 million likes. And it's all about being a gator.
It's almost like ideal because I'm actually living out the experience and then also making content related to it, but it was never like intentional.
And it happened that way on accident. How did you blow up on TikTok? How did the character get created?
This Brittany account was actually just a backup account. And I was experimenting with like doing different things. I started with like towel on my head.
But the road to fame was a long one, and he didn't achieve it overnight.
This did not happen by mistake. I've been working at it for a long time. I've been doing social media for a long time.
And he kept working. He created several videos as Brittany and even hosted live streams in character. But he says after he posted just one video, he knew there was no going back. His presence grew quickly, so he leveled up his game.
It takes, like, if I really take my time and do it good, it really is like 2 hours. Because I'm new to makeup, so it's like, it ends up taking a while. I would say it's shorter, but it's not.
But he says all the work pays off when he's recognized.
I realize it when the feedback comes back to me of like, people recognize me in class, people recognize me in Publix, literally. And so I think it's really fun, honestly.
Just because the President Brittany videos are his most successful creations does not mean it's the only thing he does. As he mentioned, he's been working on a TikTok for a while, with previous accounts dedicated to following trends. Now he has become one of his own. He told me he loves TikTok, but that his end goal is to be a pop star. In fact, he's already released some of his songs of his own. Whatever he does, his story will always lead back to our UF community that inspired his content.
The regular season for Gator football team has come to an end after the loss to Florida State in Tallahassee. It was a close game with a lot of action from both offenses. Gator quarterback Anthony Richardson had a good first half with 3 passing touchdowns as he connected with Ricky Pearsall for 2 touchdowns. Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis was impressive throughout the game as he threw for 270 yards and a touchdown and added 2 rushing touchdowns. Seminoles running back Trey Benson ran all over the Gators for 3 touchdowns of his own. The game came down to one last drive for the Gators, but they were unable to find the end zone. Seminoles win for the first time in 4 matchups, 45-38. Gator coach Billy Napier says he appreciates how his players did not give up at any point.
You know, been a lot of times in this season where they could have just laid down and started pointing fingers and making excuses. It's probably what I'm most proud of is the toughness that this group has showed, the resiliency as competitors.
The focus now turns to bowl season as the Gators wait to see where they will go bowling. But which players will be at the bowl game is now the big question. Multiple players have already announced they will enter the transfer portal, with cornerback Avery Helm announcing on Twitter today that he will be leaving the program. Florida volleyball has finished their regular season and now looks ahead to the NCAA tournament. After finishing the season 23-5 and co-SEC champs with Kentucky, the Gators are in the tournament for the 32nd consecutive year. The Gators received some SEC honors with Merritt Beeson, Marina Markova, and Alexis Stuckey all earning all SEC honors. Alexis Stuckey was also named the SEC Freshman of the Year, the 6th Gator to receive the honor. The Gators will host the first and second rounds of the tournament. The tournament will start on Friday with the Iowa State Cyclones taking on the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. That game starts at 4:30. The Gators start their tournament run against the Florida A&M Rattlers at 7 o'clock. All of these matches will be held in the O'Connell Center. The high school football season is nearing the end as the playoffs enter the state semifinal stage. In the local area, there are 5 high schools still under the lights. All 5 games are taking place on Friday. The Bucholtz Bobcats take on Venice High School, the Union County Tigers play Northview, the Hawthorne Hornets play Blountstown, and the Tornadoes from Bradford play Cocoa High School, while the Columbia Tigers take on Lake Wales. That's your local sports news. Now back to the desk.
Thanks, Jensen. Before we go, one last check on the weather.
Wednesday, we are expecting to see some rain in our area as a cold front take a look at me with the future track. You can see that just above our area Wednesday night, we are starting to see that light rain pop in. It's not going to be in the yellows and red, but we are still expecting that. Here's the 6-day forecast for you. Thursday, because of that cold front, it is going to be a little cooler out, but aside from that, we are going to be seeing 70s all week long. Back to you.
Thanks, Mariana. BBC World News is next, and the PBS News Hour is coming up at 7.
But your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.